What's the biggest mistake that you see people make when it comes to cold emailing right now?
You need to have something people actually want. I mean, there are services that are hard to sell, but people still want, and you might have to be more creative.
What do you think has changed when it comes to cold email that used to work back then but doesn't work now at all?
Volume, because it's accessible and cheap.
How do you get most leads to come after the very first email?
Here's the way I see it as an agency owner. I can work with person A where I can get them results, but I have to do a bunch of tricks and strategies, or person B where I don't have to do those things.
Welcome to the show, Michael. It's been a long time.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
I'm gonna start with some icebreakers. What's the funniest response you've ever gotten on a cold email?
Funniest response. This is not necessarily funny, but I got a response that said, I forget the person's name, let's say Joe. Joe has been dead for 10 years, stop emailing me, which I thought was kind of funny because I can't be the only person that's emailing Joe who's been dead for 10 years. Whether Joe was actually dead or not, I don't know, but I thought it was kind of funny that someone's been paying for a dead guy's email for that long.
So, next is you've traveled to over 40 countries while building your business. What's the strangest place you've ever sent a cold email from?
I mean, to be fair, I have my team managing my cold email campaigns, so I'm not like normally literally managing campaigns from places. But I mean, I suppose I've done work from maybe 50 or 60 countries because even if I'm on holiday, I'm still doing work. So, in terms of destinations I've been to that are off the beaten path that I have done work in, Timor Leste would be one. Bangladesh, I guess, is a less visited place. Those are probably like Senegal. Those are probably the three most obscure travel destinations, or at least touristy destinations I've been so far.
Do you want to maybe pinpoint, let's say, back in the time when you didn't have the team, you were just working and you still had the knack for traveling, right? So, was it like, maybe like, you were riding a bike and then suddenly you had to send an email or something weird like that? Do you have a memory?
I don't think I do, to be honest. Like even back when I was just starting, I would still use VAs. I've always been really big on like not being in operation. So even when I was like, because when I started this cold email agency, I did already have like capital and experience in agencies. I guess if I'm going way back, when I was doing cold email for my first ever agency in like 2014, I sent a lot of handwritten cold emails in university classes trying not to get caught, and also in high school. Actually, that was high school. I was sending messages in high school trying to get caught. Actually, thinking back, I remember I got in a heated debate with a math teacher over an email I was sending to a prospect, and that email ended up getting me one of my biggest deals ever when I was like 15, which was I think like $1,500 or $1,600. But
Nice.
I remember thinking like, I'm not letting that money go. She can go to hell. Like I'm gonna get this out.
All right. So, that do you think is the first time you ever used cold email?
Yeah, 2014. The first time I used cold email was for an Instagram marketing agency and like influencer network I ran. That was my first business.
Awesome. All right. So, since you have already built and sold three businesses, what made you decide to focus on cold email specifically?
Yeah, definitely. So cold email was how I had grown for a large part my last three companies. It wasn't the only channel, but was a primary channel. And I have never had an issue with client acquisition and sales. It's always been quite easy for me. I have more issues on like how do I manage a huge amount of clients, or how do I not spread myself too thin because I like to sell too many things. So it's never been like an acquisition problem for me. The whole time, everybody I talked to from masterminds and just mutual friends, it was always, man, getting clients is hard. So I figured, hey, let me just try this out and do some cold email for friends on commission. That was like the first thing, and it worked pretty well. And I kind of just kept rolling with it. And I've been in agency space for now over a decade. This will probably be my last formal agency before I move into maybe product businesses or something different. And even if I go into product, I'm still probably going to use cold email to sell product.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just kind of a natural transgression from doing it for myself to doing it for the people around me that were struggling.
When you were cold emailing, like, back in the day when you were just starting out, what was one specific cold email that made you go, aha, like, this is going to work? Like, this is a really powerful tool.
Yeah, so I talk a lot about segmentation in my YouTube channel and in all the content I make in terms of segmenting by a logical reason to reach out to people or like a personal connection. I can specifically remember I landed a Christian athletics apparel brand. that I sent a handwritten cold email to, mentioning I was also Christian. I was a high school athlete at that time, although a mediocre one. And mentioning I was an athlete, I called myself an athlete at least. And that really resonated with the guy because, like, oh, here's a marketing agency reaching out, and we have similar values and faith and interests. And he became an ongoing retainer client. I was like, holy crap, that email I landed caught his attention, and I'm like, that makes sense. So that kind of was my first way of like getting into segmentation. Most of the campaigns I have ran haven't been like from a YouTube video or something. They've just been me playing around and seeing what works.
Done for you meetings has worked. Do you call it done for you or DFY meetings?
I go back and forth.
Okay, so done for you meetings has worked with over 240 B2B businesses. How has your approach changed from when you had your first client to now?
So we've worked with so many people, either on a consulting basis, either on a management basis, or maybe just a campaign audit, like in a bunch of capacities, that it's pretty rare I see a business that I haven't either worked with myself, or I do consult for people that sell B2B lead gen. So I have some other B2B lead gen agencies that pay me for consulting. So if I consult with one of them, I may see 10 of their clients. So my total reach, including coaching, is probably in the thousands of businesses I've interacted with campaigns for. So the biggest difference between when I started to now is it's very rare I don't have a pretty good idea how well a campaign's going to work. So I feel a lot more confident, and I think that also helps with my sales because I have so much data backing what I tell people, and I often tend to be quite stoic or non-hypey, I guess would be a term, like, hey, I don't think this will work, but we could try if you want. And people tend to appreciate how blatant I am. And I can only say that because I've done this for so long and I have so much data.
That's awesome. Now we're gonna talk a little bit more about cold email on your expertise, right? So, what's the biggest mistake that you see people make? Since you have been talking to a lot of people, what's the biggest mistake that they're doing when it comes to cold emailing right now?
My favorite mistake is one that's been around for a long time and isn't just applied to cold email. It's, huh, LinkedIn outreach didn't work for us. Facebook ads didn't work for us. SEO didn't work for us. This didn't work for us. It's like, it must be a channel. When in reality, it's like no one wants your shit. Like, you need to have something people actually want. I mean, there are services that are hard to sell, but people still want, and you might have to be more creative. But what I found is like I would rather work with somebody that has an offer or a product people really want, where I don't need to break myself and jump through AI personalization hoops and do a bunch of tricks to get attention. I can just be like, here's the thing, do you want it? And if the answer is yes, it's easy. So I'd say the number one mistake people make is blaming the channel when in reality it's their product.
Since you've been in the cold email space for over a decade now, right? So, what do you think has changed when it comes to cold email that used to work back then but doesn't work now at all?
Volume has been the biggest change. So cold email went from not being a thing, like people didn't really know what a cold email was when I started, to now. So volume, because it's accessible and cheap. For example, I'm gonna like walk through cold email in like 3 stages. Stage 1 was there is no real list building tool. There is no real cold email sending tool. You hire a VA or send emails yourself. There's a low volume of emails going out. It's high effort. If you're hiring people, it's high cost and it works really well. Stage 1. Stage 2 is automation tools come out. Some of the first ones were QuickMail, Lemlist, Woodpecker. These tools all charged per email address. Per email address, that's important. So like Lemlist, I might be quoting wrong, but I think it was like $30 per email address attached to your platform. And you're always buying, Google and Outlook email addresses, Squarespace, GoDaddy, or Google domains, right? Back in the day. So your cost was high per email because you couldn't send too many. You should go to spam. Or like, I remember I was paying Limlist over $10,000 a month at one point. And I really liked that period because you had automation, but you priced out most people because I was happy to spend 10, 15 grand a month on software. I didn't care, but other people couldn't. And I liked that. It was a really nice period. And then the third stage is like Instantly was the first one to do this. That's why they grew so fast, in my opinion. They said, hey, no more paying per email address because, to be fair, the pay per email address model was broken because it incentivized you to send as much volume as you could per email address, which is the opposite of deliverability. You want to scale horizontally, not vertically. So it was a broken model. Instantly fixed it. Now, Actually, there's four stages. That's stage three. So then you had instantly. Now it's $100 a month. You have as many emails as you want, but you're still paying full price for email addresses. Volume is increased. Stage four is where we're at right now. You have these super cheap infrastructure setup email providers where you get like 1,000 emails at like 10 cents a piece, instantly lets you, or Smartlead or any of the people knock them off, lets you attach as many emails as you want. And you can now email like 1,000 people a day with crap data. If you want to email that many people a day with good data, it costs more. But like your average idiot can like send 1,000 emails a day, and it's not that like they're better than you or they're better than anybody else and you're gonna do well, but it's just noise. So noise has been the biggest change because cold emails come cheaper. It's become easier to do, not to get results with. It's opposite for results, but it's become easier to do in terms of actual sending. And there's a lot more information about it. So volume, that's been the biggest change.
What do you think works best for, at least for you guys? Like, getting, how do you get most leads to come after the very first email?
We work with people with really good offers. like the longer I've been in cold email, like if you here's the way I see it as an agency owner. I can work with person A where I can get them results, but I have to do a bunch of tricks and strategies, or person B where I don't have to do those things. My business at this point is pretty much built around working with the best businesses that I think don't have to do tricks. Now, that is useful to me, but it may not be useful to a listener. It's like, what's the trick? Well, have something you want, have 100 reviews, be the best in your industry, and have a massive personal brand. Like that is what I'm looking for when it comes to who am I working with. But for most people, that's not as tactical.
What's the term that you use that in Grow B2B, like the school community? Is it hero?
Yeah, hero framework.
Yeah, hero framework. All right. What makes a cold email actually work? Like if you were to break it down like in simple words.
Do people want what you have? Like that's what everything comes back to. It's like so much of cold email not working is just selling something people don't want. Do people want what you have? Social proof is a big one too, because there's some things where there's not many people doing cold email for it, and there's a lot of demand for it. It'll work well. There's other things where it's been semi commoditized and it's quite competitive, and then social proof becomes the winner. Like so many people think that. I'll give a good example. I have a consulting client I'm working with right now. They're a huge company. They're doing multiple 8 figures a year. They have, in the Fortune 1000 market, they have 50 Fortune 1000 companies, which is a big chunk of a Fortune 1000 market. They're a financial services and auditing company. They, in their contracts, are not allowed to mention client names, and they have no logos or case studies on their entire website. That's an example of like, they're a great company, but they have no social proof. So they're effectively a beginner. So I see people on two sides of things. One, really big companies that haven't used social proof well, or two, just like legitimate businesses, beginners that haven't used social proof. Because social proof plays a huge effect in cold email. I mean, before someone's committing to get on a phone call with you, they're looking up your name, they're looking up your company name. If nothing comes up, then unless you have an amazing product or service or some connection point between you and a prospect, they're probably not going to consider you.
Got it. So how do you guys actually help business stay out of spam folders? I'm talking about the good ones, the hero ones.
Yeah, so a lot of parts to it, but as a high level overview, first, we're not cheap. We buy our domains from Squarespace and GoDaddy from the US. We do our emails, Outlook, and Google. We don't use resellers, these are from the US. We send a very low amount of emails from every email address. In our scripts, we're checking for spam keywords, removing them, we're using spin tags. We have our emails warmed up ongoing. We never turn off warm up. A big part of it is just so many people are trying to cheap out on like what is the cheapest per email per domain thing. We're just being stupid and cheap in my opinion often. It's okay to use resellers or infrastructure setup if it's like in addition to vanilla setup. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing for us is just not cheaping out on the technology we're using. Even like data, like our cost per contact is probably higher than most people, but we have a super low bounce rate, and we also have a really high accuracy of our contacts matching our client's ICP, which ultimately means less people are going to be reporting our emails as spam, which is going to help us too.
Right. And I mean, it came as a surprise that you guys don't guarantee a set number of meetings anymore. But since you guys are like so good, people still come to you, right? So how does that work out?
Yeah, I would say very few people even like mention a guarantee. There's like a couple categories that ask for guarantees, but I don't work with them normally. But for the most part, pretty much no one asks for a guarantee. Um, I think part of it's who we work with. Like we work with like big legitimate companies. Like most of the people that are asking for a guarantee are like a four-person company that does 200 grand a year and is just scraping by and it like desperately needs every marketing activity to work, where we're normally working with multiple seven, eight, sometimes nine-figure companies where the expectation is a retainer on a 3 to 6 month commitment. So part of it's who we work with. The other part is just like social proof. If someone wants a guarantee, I'd be like, go find an agency just starting out that needs a guarantee. You can look at our over 100 reviews. We're a partner for literally every tool. You can check out us in the media. So social proof help gets around that quite a bit.
All right. So if you like, if someone is just starting out, you would say, okay, you can provide guarantee given you're working with like a good enough client.
Depends. I wouldn't. It depends who you are. Like I've always been really good at sales. Even like my first time ever selling anything, I was already good at sales. I never needed. I did do some guarantees, but I didn't need to. We also like, for example, some people like Coach. Some I talk to, are just like really charismatic and likable. They don't need guarantees. Somebody who's less charismatic, less likable, a bit awkward, they may either need to do a guarantee or take a lot more calls to get their first client, or maybe do like a paper lead or paper call engagement where it's not a guarantee, but it is performance based. I think if you're somebody that's good at sales, good at people, you have a bit of sales experience, I would say it's better. Let's say that like getting your first client the guarantee takes 10 sales calls for your first client. I'd rather you just take 20 sales calls and not have a guarantee.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Grow B2B program. Like if you're still, can we talk about it?
Sure.
So first one is what made you start the program even though you already have like a successful agency running with done for you business?
Yeah, so with Done For You meetings, we started making YouTube videos and got a lot of clients through YouTube. But as our clients became larger and larger, there were less and less people that came through YouTube that were relevant for our agency. Now we still get some fantastic calls that become clients from YouTube, like regularly. But the majority of YouTube is like the late stage B2C, early B2B segment. Let's say like the 50 to 250K a year grouping of businesses. And we didn't want to manage campaigns for them. It just didn't make sense. So for a long time, I was selling like random consulting call or like random audit, but it was just like the problem was I was getting the same questions over and over again, and I had to charge them quite a bit because it was just literally my time they were buying, and it takes away from other projects. So at some point, I said, "Hey, let me standardize this," and I put together a program that answers all those questions I got over and over again. And I also have group calls that people can come to and get their questions answered. And it just made sense because I had some people coming. And like it's funny because I've never actually really marketed Grow B2B. Like if anybody follows me on Instagram, I've posted it like 2 times in the last year.
Yeah.
I in YouTube videos I like casually mention it and it's in the description. And I don't do any ads currently. I've done maybe $1,000 in ad spend lifetime, so I don't really promote it. It just kind of exists, and it's kind of a fun project. It's been about maybe 2 years since I first started selling it. We've had 100 people join, like literally 100 are in my school community exactly. So
Yeah.
it's not massive. It's just kind of like a side passion project.
How do you differentiate B2B than other cold email courses that are out there?
Yeah, since it's kind of my side business, I haven't really tried to. I mean, I think that's the differentiator. Like the fact that it's not my primary source of income, the fact that I don't care if you join. Like if you want to join, I'm happy to help you. But if you don't want to join, I don't care. I don't need your money to live my life. I make my money from my agency. So I think that's been a differentiator. It's like
Yeah.
I'm very happy to help people that join, and I genuinely try my best to see them succeed. But if you don't want to join, or you want to join someone else's program that has some crazy guarantee or is much bigger, feel free to it. I don't really mind. So I haven't tried to differentiate it, and I haven't pushed it really hard. And a
Yeah.
lot of people that join mention the reason they're attracted to it is it's so low key and it's
Yeah.
not my main source of income. It's like been like maybe 2 or 3% of my lifetime income online.
I mean, yeah, I could add to that because majority of the people that do sell cold email courses, they're not actively running an agency, and that's something that differentiates you from them, right? So, coming to it, what kind of people do join Grow B2B, and who gets the best results?
Yeah, so this is another funny one where I was wrong about assuming this. I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be maybe like head of outbound or SDRs or chief revenue officers in companies, or I thought it was going to be like just B2B service companies, not necessarily B2B lead gen, just B2B service companies that want help with B2B lead gen. And yes, between those two personas, we have maybe 20 people out of 100, but like 80% of it is just guys that sell B2B lead gen. Now, not all of them do cold email. Some do LinkedIn outreach, some do B2B ads, some of them do like B2B cold calling, but the large majority actually sell B2B lead gen. And it makes sense. A lot of them are newer and they just don't have that much data. So for them to be able to come on a call and ask me, what about this script or this campaign idea? And I've probably already tested something similar. It's quite helpful for them. And also just the fact for them to meet each other. I mean, we did our first ever event in November. We had around 20 people attend. And there's not too it's a very niche thing, like a group of people that run B2B lead gen agencies. So, outside of like myself and the information I provide, it's a nice vetted group and community.
Among the 100 people that have joined, what's your favorite success story if you want to give them a shout out?
I'll do two. The first person who formally bought it, his name is Paulo Giletti. I believe Paulo right now is like 22. He joined when he actually paid me for consulting before Grow B2B was a thing. I think he paid me for consulting when he was like 18 years old. And I met him in person. He was like so young and ambitious. And it's kind of funny 'cause I'm not that much older than him, but like I've watched him grow up and go from like this little agency of two clients to like he's gonna probably be at 100K a month by the end of this year. So that was a very cool story. That was the first person to join. The most recent story I think is really cool. Is we had a young man join, not even man, we had a young teenager join who was I think was joined at 14 and turned 15, or he joined at 15 and turned 16, something like that. Let's say 15. And I started when I was really young, and a lot of people start young at like 18 or 19, but I remember when I was like 14 or 15, like I was mentally mature enough to be in business, and none of my peers thought I was, although I ended up doing well. And I kind of saw myself in this guy where it's like, he may be young, but he's like bright and fully capable. And I gave him like a pretty, I don't normally give discounts, but I offered him like a pretty steep discount. Like, I'm going to give you a really good price, but I want you to use all that extra money on prospecting. And he joined and he has crushed it. Like, he is so smart. He's so hardworking. He applies everything I tell him. I mean, he joined a few months ago and he's probably signed 5 or 6 projects. He even got a retainer at $4,000 a month at 15. So I'm just stoked to see him do well. He's already doing better than I was doing at his age, and I'm really happy to see him succeed.
Awesome. Do you want to name drop him?
He doesn't have any social media presence because he's young. I don't know if he wants me to.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna quickly go through some cold email memes if you're down.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Awesome. Let me just share the screen here. Just gonna start with this. Has that ever been any of your pickup lines?
I can't say so. Maybe at a gay club, but probably
Yeah.
not.
But I do believe there's some females that do cold email, right?
Yeah, I mean, even in Grow B2B, there's like three women that run B2B lead gen agencies, so it's not entirely a male space. But I mean, go to any business conference and it's mostly dudes.
Cool. Writing a cold email, hitting send, see a response in your inbox. Do the jitters happen now?
No,
Okay.
I'm so stoic.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm. It's maybe good or bad, but it takes quite a bit for me to get like excited on something because
Okay.
maybe I'm just dead inside. I don't know.
Do So you don't do Dream 100 or anything like that.
Oh no,
Dream.
I do. I do Dream 100 campaigns. A lot of times like physical mail as opposed to cold email. But
Got it.
I'll have people I want to work with, but I try not to get too emotionally invested because it's like if I get really excited and really want it, that it doesn't ultimately change anything. So I try to just like limit like my energy. Even like for example today, before I joined this call, I sent out a pretty large invoicing contract, and it's like I really hope they pay, but I'm not gonna like lose sleep over it because they might not, and that's okay too.
Got it. Right. So when a cold email gets ignored, I mean that doesn't happen now. Like if they ignore, they ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sales prospect asks for a call back in 6 months. Do they actually close if they say, okay, come back to me after
Um,
like X number of months or quarter?
it depends. Like if somebody says like if it's December and they say message me in January, like that's legitimate. Or if they say we're finishing the project, like if they give a reason, it sometimes can. Generally, the shorter of a time frame I tell you, the more relevant it's going to be. But in terms of deals closing like a long time later, that does happen. We have had many deals take a year, sometimes 2 years to close, and that could be that somebody talks to you, they hire another agency, they work with them for 3 months, they get burned, they do something else for 6 months, then they go through a divorce, and then they have a kid, and then like who knows, right? Like I've had any
Yeah.
number of reasons for people to end up paying later.
Nice. But I won't stop until. And there's a hard rule for you as well. Like, is it 3 emails or like two, and you don't
I know.
even.
Yeah, I normally do 2 to 3. Sometimes I'll do longer, but normally not. I do think there's a certain amount of emails like before someone's responded that you can just kind of come across as like obnoxious. Um, like especially this seems to be a thing more and more in social media for like young guys. I have a lot of like I get pitched YouTube services
Yeah.
constantly, like
Yeah.
constantly. It's like bro question mark like I don't know. Honestly, like go to
Mhm.
hell. Like or just go back to high school, whatever you're doing. I don't know. It's
Mm.
just bro question mark. Hey bro. Like I don't know you.
Prospects when you send long cold emails. Do you still do long cold emails, or is it just like
It
handwritten
dep-
mails?
depends on the persona. For example, I have a client I work with, and they sell like an extremely technical service to like deep IT titles. When I say deep IT titles, I don't mean like the guy who prints printers, like somebody with in charge of like network security at like a large enterprise. These guys hate being outreached, and you need to make your emails technical and with a lot of information. Like normally your email should be like focused on benefits. When you're selling to like deep tech IT titles, it needs to be like super deliverable focused and super process focused. So occasionally, but normally they're shorter.
Yeah, too many follow-ups don't work. You've made a mistake. There's no value. So value should be there in the cold email. Do you think that?
Not necessarily. I
Mm.
mean, I think people like to use the word value because it's a buzzword, but it's like when you send a cold email and most cold emails are not valuable.
Mm. It should just start a conversation. I believe that that's what it should do.
Yeah. I mean, occasionally I've seen like lead magnet cold emails work, but the problem is most people don't actually have anything legitimately valuable to put in their email. Like I see a lot of times that are like they send a blog post like no one wants your like shitty VA written or GPT written blog post of information they already know. Like if you actually have something that's like truly good, like kind of my mental test for something that's free value or a free resource is like would they legitimately pay for it? And the large majority of the time the answer is no.
Got it. Send a cold email, forgot follow-ups. I mean that must have happened with the VAs and the team, right? So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I can say for like a matter of fact, I've lost certain deals by forgetting to answer people that wanted to pay me. Like that has happened once or twice in my career.
Got it. Cold email stress, getting in. ignored in the inbox, getting no reply after the third follow up, getting your email marked as spam, realizing your cold email was sent to the wrong list again. I, those are just novice mistakes. Like, yeah. But have you seen people like worry this much about something?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had prospects that are like hyper anxious, and I think there's three categories for this. Like, one category makes the sense. Like, there are companies that have legitimate reasons to be ultra concerned about things. If you're a bank doing cold email, you need to be fully compliant all the time. Like the potential fines for a bank not following standards are insane. So that'd be one category, like a legitimately sensitive business. Another category would be like an employee in a company. Like they really don't want to make a mistake. Like the cost of a mistake gets them more in trouble than the upside or reward of doing something right. And then third is you just get some people that are so annoying, anxious people.
Right. Awesome. So you can see this. You might have gotten like some people saying cold emails are dead. I know, like this was the title of majority of the post on LinkedIn and YouTube videos. So is it really dead, or is it like it's become a little more difficult than it used to be?
Yeah, if people ask me if cold emails are dead, I say they're getting harder. If somebody tells me cold email is dead, I say cool.
That's basically it for the memes. So I'm just gonna stop sharing. We're gonna talk about a little bit about your personal life. What's a day in your life looking like right now when you're running these businesses?
I don't like too much structure. Um, I ultimately like my goal of business was to make money to do the things I want to do, and now I'm at a point where like I've I don't want to sound like I've accomplished more than I have. I haven't. I'm not the most successful person in the world, but like I have the house I want. I have the income property I want. I have the cars I want. I have the watches I want. I've done a lot of the travel I want to. I'm married. Like and and when I look at like, I could choose to not do some of the things I want to do, and make like 30% more, or I could do the things I want to do. And I almost always choose to do the things I want to do. Like I'm very confident I would have made more money if I skipped all the traveling and all the adventure I did and just worked more. But it's like if I had an extra $1 million right now and I had none of the memories and experience, it's like, what's the point? Now, I'm not saying you should just be a hippie and just like go have fun and not take any responsibility, but I do think there's balance to things. And one of the things I don't like is a super structured day. So every day for me is a little bit different. Like today, I woke up, I had a couple meetings in the morning, I went on a bicycle ride, I went to a coffee shop and sat for like an hour, came back home, did some yard work. I worked for a while, went on a motorcycle ride, worked more. I'm talking to you now. After this, I'll have one more meeting, then I'll get dinner, and then I'll be on calls from like 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. because I live in Thailand. And tomorrow I fly to a different city and I'm doing like work from a different city for like 5 days because I want to.
What was the thing that surprised you the most when you just started doing business?
So I started when I was so young. I started when I was 14 years old, and one of the nice things about doing something at that age is I had no expectations. I think that if I was 18 or 19, I probably would have had some like preconceived notions about business or some expectations. So in my case, I didn't have any expectations. I kind of fell into it, which I think that was a good thing.
Awesome. All right. So we personally we've known each other for like a little less than 2 years. How do you think your approach to business has changed over that time?
I'm more relaxed now, that's for sure. Like specifically last year, I hit a lot of the milestones that I had been aiming towards, and I stopped working as much. Like in 20, my biggest revenue ever year was in 2024, and I accomplished a lot of my things I wanted by the end of that year. And in 2025, I worked significantly less. I think last year I worked an average of maybe 20 hours a week. I did a lot of things, um, focused more on relationships. So I would say the biggest change, like personally, is I have a lot of the things I want, and I'm still making good money, and I don't need to work that much. I'm not worried about like breaking myself to make 30 or 40% more.
Got it. So, what's your biggest challenge in growing these businesses, done for you meetings and grow B2B, if there were any challenge?
Yeah, I think my biggest, like, if it's still a personal question, my biggest personal challenge of business has always been the same. It's I am a really good sales guy, marketer, and idea guy. I am a mediocre operator. I need to surround myself with operations people that can maintain the things I think up. And I'm always having to fight being distracted by other ideas. I have a whiteboard in my office, I'm looking at it now. I have a list of like 30 businesses I would love to start. And obviously that's not good. Well, it's good to have ideas. It's just not good to start 30 at once, and I don't. But yeah, distraction. That's like my thing. I always have to decide like, should I really do that? And because I have a lot of businesses I want to start that are more like personal ones I would really enjoy, but won't make that much money. So kind of and eventually I think I will do some of those businesses where it doesn't make that much money, but it's fun. But right now I'm trying to like make sure I'm not spreading myself too thin, and I'm still doing the things that are high leverage to have a high income, at least for the next few years before I can go do my random hobby businesses I want to.
Coming to it, like if cold email were to disappear tomorrow, what's the first thing that you're gonna do, or what business are you gonna start?
My agencies are diversified. We have some clients we do Upwork management for, where we manage our Upwork profiles, and we also do direct mail for some people. So I've already seen cold email getting harder and didn't want all my income dependent on it. And right now, my income is probably about 30% mail, 30% Upwork, 40% cold email. So if it happened, I wouldn't really care. I don't think I would, because most of my clients I'm doing multiple platforms from anyway. Because at the end of the day, people just want leads. People don't care you get them. So whether you're doing ads, whether you're doing SEO, whether you're doing LinkedIn outreach, cold calling, going to a conference on behalf of your client, people don't care.
All right. So, what's a cold email trend you think is like absolutely overrated?
AI, personalization. Um, AI personalization is good and does work if you have a list of people that have available data to personalize and you are technical. It doesn't work when you don't know what you're doing and you're targeting plumbers with no available information. It's just excess work, excess cost, clutter, and you get shit emails. So I think AI personalization is absolutely helpful, but very overrated and poorly used.
Right. So, let's say for someone who's listening right now and is struggling to getting meetings, what's the one thing they could do to improve their results, like they could do today?
This is a different answer I'm going to give you. Assuming they already have a couple clients, ask their clients to open up their inboxes if you're on good terms with them and look at the cold emails they receive. That gives you so much insight. I know it sounds silly, but look at the cold emails your clients are receiving, find the ones that are good, and try something like that.
Is there any business dream that you haven't shared publicly?
I don't think so. Like my dreams are all around like not needing to work. Like I'm very freedom oriented. Like I do have some materialistic things I want. I'm not free from wanting material. There's material I want I don't have. But the large majority of my goals revolve around not needing to do anything. Um, I don't have visions of running a 100-person company. I I see myself working moderately hard for 3 to 5 more years and then stopping.
And now we're just gonna go to the rapid fire segment, like one line or one word, whatever it is. Three things every cold email must have:
Something people want, social proof, deliverability,
coffee or tea to fuel your workday;
copy.
best book that's helped you in business.
How to get a meeting with everyone.
You could name others as well. Like if you're like, it can't be just one, you can name more.
Yeah, how to get a meeting with anybody. Um, how to write copy that sells. Those two, really good.
Awesome. So we already talked about the most overrated cold email advice. What's the most overrated business advice that you've heard?
I'm going to answer more broadly. I think too many people are worried about believe that there's one right way to do things, right? Like I'll follow two people and I'll agree with 40% of what one says and 40% what the other one says. Like there isn't always a right and wrong. Like you can have two businesses instead of one. You can want to work 20 hours a week or you can want to work 80 hours a week. Like it's ultimately your life. And I think a lot of, especially young men, they are more influenced than they think by the people they follow, and they don't consider what they actually want. And even myself, like at some points I've been like, oh man, I want to make this much money, but it's like if I, you know, like I'm super content right now. I make what I consider quite good money. I have my investments set up to the point where I can chill. For the most part, I'm doing work I enjoy, and I have what I want. So, you know, somebody else might tell you that's stupid. Like sit down, don't travel, work a lot. For them, that might be true, but it's not true for me. So I think the most overrated advice is to do one specific thing when in reality it's do what you want.
All right. So you've already worked with like, multiple different clients, bigger clients, short, smaller clients. But is there still a dream client that you want to work with anytime soon?
Not really, to be honest. Not really. Um, Yeah, I don't really have like a dream client. Even when I do like Dream 100 or Dream 50 campaigns, they're not like companies I normally care about per se. They're just people I can get good results for.
Awesome. Michael, that was it for the list of questions. Thank you for being such a gracious guest. And if you have any 2 cents to share, like, where people can find you or any advice that you want to share, like, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. I guess final advice: do what you want. Don't let yourself be too easily influenced by others. If you want to find more about me, Michael Gardiner, you can search Michael Gardiner cold email on YouTube. You'll find me. My agency, if you're a larger company that wants campaigns managed, dfymeetings.com. If you are a smaller agency or B2B service provider that wants help with cold email and outreach, growb2b.io. Div, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for being here. All right. Have a good
Absolutely.
one.
You too.